I'm Kevin from DTools, and in this video, I'll provide an introduction to checklists. We'll start by discussing some basics of checklists. Then we'll talk about different uses for the checklist feature, including adding checklists to projects, including checklists in the project Gantt view for project planning. Also, checklists can be used with tasks for scheduling and service orders. And we'll wrap up the video with some checklist import and export functionality. Let's get started by covering some basics of the checklist feature. I'm going to click Setup here and go to the Control panel and notice the checklist feature here under the Catalog section. I'll double click here and you can see this is where I can manage my global list of checklists. So think of these like templates, maybe a particular checklist for fast track projects, right? That has a relatively short list of deliverables to walk through a process, to something more detailed like a standard project checklist that is a multi-phased project approach. You might have a standard service checklist, a standard task checklist for scheduling your projects, as well as maybe something like technical drawings where there is a specific checklist tied to the design and engineering process that maybe lives outside of the standard project checklist on a job. Many ways that checklists can be used. Let's just take a brief look at some of the features here. Notice that I can click New and enter a new item and type a name. I can also select an item and click New Child, and it will enter an item underneath that parent record. I can select an item and click Edit to change the text. I can clone items, delete items, and then I can use the move up and down options to adjust the order of items, and I can also promote or demote. So if, for instance, the send acceptance email was needed to be a parent item, I could promote it out from the as a child of the project approval process, or I can demote it and put it back in and then move it back to its previous position. Okay, let's take a look at how we can use checklists for projects. So I'm going to select a project here, and then notice that across my tabs at the bottom there is a checklists tab, and you can see I have a checklist assigned to this project with 0 of 5 items completed. I can click New and click Project Checklist here, and I can actually just give the checklist a name. Like I could call this punch list, and I could start adding items to the list. Right, and then so this can be a running list that I work on during the course of a project, and make sure that items are getting completed. So that is one option. I'll save it, and now it's here in the list. I can also click Add, and I can go ahead and select my pre-built templated checklist, and now that checklist has been added. Notice I can give it a new name here as I add it to this project. I can do all of the things we did before, modifying this checklist to the needs of this job. And I want to point out a couple of things. So let's say that we've completed this send acceptance email step. I'll check the box. Notice that the status is moved to completed. It shows the date it was completed. Completed by, I'm logged in as the admin user, and so that shows here. I'll check the next item, and then once I check the final child item of this parent, the parent is checked off for me as well. Very straightforward. If I need to add some notes, I can type here, and then I can track notes about this. And at any point, I can add items, delete items, modify this checklist as necessary for the needs of my job. I'll go ahead and save it, and there's our checklist in the project. You might have noticed that when I clicked New, I have task checklist as an option and service order checklist as an option. If I needed to have a checklist in this task that I've just selected, now it opens directly. I go to the checklist option and I can pick a checklist. And it's going to be the exact same option here under my service orders. I can open a service order and go to the checklist option as well. And then let's take a look at under the task feature again. We have the Gantt view option, and I'll go ahead and click on the Gantt view here. And we do have a Gantt, and you can actually see in the case of this project, some of these items at the top are actually from a checklist. And so how this works is I can click Add, and I can choose from checklist or from project checklist. So the difference here would be a template checklist from the control panel. And again, the project checklist would be one that's already associated with the project. So if I maybe had some very specific needs with the project and I'd manipulated a checklist, I can then insert items into this section from a checklist. So if I pick from checklist and I say, let's say it's the standard project checklist, now I get the list of items and I can choose, I can choose all the items. I can choose just a handful of items, however I want to approach this. And then I can go ahead and click finish and add those items right to the Gantt. And then I'll pick up with the standard Gantt functionality to adjust dates and resources, etc. And let's quickly go back to the control panel, and I will open the checklist feature. And this is going to work the same whether I'm in a checklist template like this or if I am in a checklist that's assigned to a project, a task, a service order, etc. So I can export to CSV and go ahead and save a file. I get this checklist exported. And then I could make some changes here, save this, and then just go to the import option and import it right back into the system. If you like the idea of editing and manipulating your checklists out in Excel, that is an option. Now that you're familiar with checklists, to learn more, you can visit the System Integrator Help Center, located at docs.dtools.com, and go ahead and search for checklists.